Okay, good morning all. This session is being recorded, so if anybody wants to not be seen, then please just kill your video. So really amazing times we're living in. Somebody's not muted. Let me just do that. Do that for James. Really amazing that we held our user group meeting in March this year on Zoom, thinking that that definitely was the first time. We had some good responses, and we also had some people who were a bit challenged by Zoom at the time. Now it's becoming a way of life. We just, from one Zoom meeting to another Zoom meeting. However, that's good to see everybody, and there's about 85 at my last count attending here at the moment. We've got a number of users at the moment who are long-term users of UMass. We've got some who are in progress implementing UMass, and we've got a couple of observers today. It's welcome to you all. Welcome to this the second user group meeting for 2020. Some objectives here that I've put up each time that we've had a user group, a little bit more challenging to provide the last two dot points. But what we'd like to do is to be able to make sure that you get the maximum benefits from your UMass, and also for you to be able to provide feedback on that development of that UMass system. And we're going to look at some of those implementations and things and changes that we've made. We're going to look at that through today as well. Not so easy to provide a forum where we can all pool our knowledge in a large group of 85, 86 people. But nevertheless, what we've been doing over the last few months is running masterclasses and different sessions. So Zoom actually makes it very easy for us to do that. So I think that that's our way of actually being able to pool experiences, get people together in a dedicated class on a particular function and share those experiences at the time. And also then that accelerates the networking that I believe that we've got a really good pool of users and experienced people running and using UMass who can contribute and share that knowledge with other people. So as of today, we've got 41 UMass sites in Victoria. We've got, we've had 8 this year. Maximum, we've normally been able to do about 3 to 5 a year. We've done 8 this year. In addition to that, we've released the version 6 of UMass, and we've released the long-awaited UMass for members. We'll be having some sessions on both of those sessions, both of those issues later on. And a sister product, the website template, there's 39 of those. They're not necessarily all UMass. Some U3As are using the website template only. Some are only using UMass and some are using both. So in addition to the rolling out of UMass for members, which was a big job this year, and I particularly want to focus on the effort that Andrew Lockwood has put into this. Running the project, Andrew has done a magnificent job in keeping everybody online, keeping a list of where we're at, making sure that, that everything's on track. And it's been challenging because normally in a situation like this, we would like to have, and we initially designed to have focus groups where we would put a few people together in a room and get their feelings. Now, not quite the same on Zoom, but nevertheless, Andrew has run a magnificent project. So I'd like to thank you very much. I mentioned a second ago, the masterclasses that we held earlier in the year. We've got another couple that we're going to talk about today. So we've also extended our support team. Just recap on the model that we use, but whether it's UMass or the website template, same model. So in the developer area, we've got Jasmine Higgs and Peter Brooks. In the support team, I'm going to mention them in a minute. And each of you as a user will have a support team member or a mentor in the support team who is dedicated to looking after you and assisting you. And if there's any concerns or issues that they need to actually share with the team itself, then they'll come back to us and we'll bounce it around. I'd like to welcome Seng Poon from Box Hill has joined recently. Earlier in the year, we announced that Peter Sterling had joined. And then within a little short time, Peter went up Coffs Harbour, up north somewhere, and then they locked the borders and Peter hasn't been able to get back. He is on his way back and he's coming back on Thursday now. But on the volunteers that we have in our support teams, Andrew, Robin, Peter, Seng, and in the website template team, we've got Jeff Kidd and Peter Lazarus. Apart from Peter Sterling, who's travelling back, I don't think he's able to join us, travelling back from New South Wales, then they're all here today. On the developer front, I mentioned Peter Brooks and Jasmine Higgs. Well done. Thank you very much for your help. And we have a number of people in the network office who assist us greatly. Now today, through the sessions, with 85 people, it's impossible to have a discussion between people. We have muted all microphones, and we would request that any questions that you've got, you raise them by the chat. Now down the bottom of your screen, there's a chat button. I'm assuming that everybody now is fairly familiar with it. We will respond as we can, if we can, throughout the session, and if not, when we will take those questions away and we will send back support team responses in the next few days. So we'll be sending the presentations out, we'll be sending out those responses. And I just mentioned we're recording the session, so if you don't particularly want to be noticed, then you can kill your video. Okay, now the program today, I won't read it all out, but it's exactly the same as the agenda that we sent out less than a week ago now. So we'll go through that bit at a time. It is a fairly busy session. We hope to wrap up by 12:30, and I hope to be able to get a short break to stretch legs at around about 11:30, 25 minutes past 11 or thereabouts, if we keep to our schedule. So without me going on any further, then let me introduce Susan Webster from Network. And I'll stop sharing.
And I'm going to start sharing. So give me a moment to get this up, to put it into, hopefully into, just have to get rid of my pictures of all of you all so that I can find, here we go, the slide presentation. So you should be seeing, I thought I was being so smart having a gallery view. There we are, network technology plans. What I wanted to do was to share with you a bit of the future that we see, but of course, as usual, we start with sort of what we've been through this year, some of which Kevin has alluded to. In March at the user group meeting, I notified you of some deferrals and cancellations. We have all through the time since then reduced our efforts at various things, all of us, not just the network, or refocused our efforts. In April and May, Network and member U3As developed the Zoom support project, Go Online. And through that project of developing mentors and then inviting tutors to work with those mentors, we had 300 tutors who went through that program. There are going to be a couple more Zoom support sessions, so those will be notified to you, I think not today, but in the near future. In May, we started work in earnest on the data privacy and security project, and there's a report on that later in this meeting. In August, as Kevin mentioned, we had started the delivery of UMass for members. And at the September council meeting, so that's 2 weeks away or 2 weeks behind us, I talked about and others talked about the Go Further Online project, and also technology futures as a discussion topic. So I'm going to my next slide. Support for, in fact, I think this is really the chief work of the network and also of your technical support teams right now, is supporting us through enrollment. And part of that is planning, of course, for changes that we have to make for to cope with the COVID. I've just listed these here. Again, others will be talking about aspects of these. Certainly talking about the reporting changes today. I know there's separate sessions on rollover and enrollment as well as what we have today. There is, I heard someone mentioning this before we actually settled down for the presentations. There is a workshop on the 5th of October, that's next Monday, from the COVID Innovations Group, and it's going to look at what seem to be the three main areas for support for planning for 2021, class structures, fees, and then enrollment processes. We as a UMass group here have a pretty solid set of procedures, and we do all work together. Other U3As are of course, working much more independently. So you all may feel that you're far enough advanced that you don't need to come to this, and that's fine too. But what I was hearing over meetings in the last month or so are that there are still U3As that do want some guidelines and some opportunity to hear what others are doing. And finally, I'd just like to mention these Facebook webinars about how to manage your Facebook site and how to use it to recruit members. So again, these are also next week on the Tuesday and on the Thursday. An invitation for those went out last week, and that went to presidents and secretaries, as well as to members of what we call the marketeers, those people who are identified as working in marketing for their U3As. So moving along, Go Further Online. Now I pinched this slide from Dell, so I don't even think I asked you, Dell, so I apologize for that. This is really a scope statement of what's involved in this project. Encouragement for U3As, helping U3As to offer more courses and activities online, offering more Zoom training, as I mentioned, and supporting U3As to have a website. There are a number of our U3As who use their council's website or some other major body that might auspice them or work closely with them. And we are saying to all U3As, with an independent website, you have a lot more control of what information you're able to present and to promote yourself. Doesn't mean you have to cut ties with any of these other organizations at all. And I would continue to, where you can, to have a presence on their website as well. There's also proposals for the current network website to promote statewide courses through the website, to allow a statewide search for Zoom courses by course category. So in other words, that's a small number of courses in comparison to what we would have been offering last year and next year, and to provide more resources and guides to U3As. In the medium term, Go Further Online, which will be starting about 2021. I should say we'll be starting in 2021, probably about the start of the year. We will be looking, the network will be looking to develop a new web presence, which is really targeted to the general public, improved search by category, notifying and promoting local U3A events that are targeted to the general public. Maybe we'll get as far as offering webinars and how-to guides for the general public, and promoting volunteering at U3As. The other thing I wanted to mention was a workshop that we announced on technology futures. And we have used, Network has used this term for a couple of years to look at what is the plan for technology going forward. We've announced things, we've examined things, we've had to defer things or redefine them. U3As have come back to me and to others and talked about what they would like, and have spoken certainly at council and also at president's briefings. And I have taken and summarized here what those U3As have said to us. They want technology leadership from the network. They would like to have one system, but I think we all recognize the costs in that. And there's a huge monetary cost. There could be a huge monetary cost, but also there's a cost in chopping and changing and chopping and changing. And the other thing that U3As say to me is, we don't want any more technology wars where this group says that group is no good and people made decisions they shouldn't have made. And U3As are saying, look, let's look forward. And that's what I want to do too, is to look forward. So I've listed here on this slide what Network's priorities are today. So it's getting through COVID, the Go Further Online project, and finalizing data privacy and security. And you see the things that are left off of that. Well, you don't see, but the things that are left off of that are the work to select a new technology system and the work to build a new reporting system, which our current system is called NMDB. And we put a lot of energy into looking at that, but we just feel right now that the three things, sorry, I'll just go back on that the three things I've noted here down at the bottom of this slide are the three things that are of the most benefit to our U3As in an immediate sense. So there's a couple of other aspects that I wanted to mention before I finish. Network's original business goals in developing a member management system are listed here, particularly risk reduction, spreading the cost, promoting governance, using a strong system to keep track of our membership and our finances in relation to membership. Replicability, so as we have done, new U3As get the same system that existing users have. Scalability for large U3As, for U3As that aren't that large. Increased security and promoting volunteering and sharing. So in 2013, that's what we had listed on our first scope statements, or these are the important things to us. I do have another person here today who was involved in those meetings and those discussions, and that's Andrew Lockwood. This is Network's view of UMass. I also presented these slides or variations on these slides at the council meeting. Network is a strategic benefit UMass is a strategic benefit for Network. It provides many tangible and intangible benefits and has done so since 2013. It and other systems that people have adopted have enabled the U3A movement to raise our digital awareness overall, to build digital capacity in all our U3As, no matter what systems they use. It has helped lead U3As to recognize the importance of the website as a tool for administering our membership, as a communications tool. It has prepared U3As for online interactions. So the fact that UMass and other systems are cloud-based systems has helped all of us to get ready for where we are today, where we are one of the fastest moving and the largest seniors group using online communications. UMass has helped to support strong governance in U3As, supported the integration of systems, the website, the financials, the reporting, as well as the actual administration system. And it's given a professional presentation of our movement to the public, which certainly UMass for members has carried that forward. These are tangible benefits. So those were the strategic benefits. These are tangible benefits. Many U3As have experienced that situation where the one person who built your system or the one person who can actually understand it and administer it is a prisoner of that system. They hardly dare to go on holidays. They're supporting the system from Romania or Ireland or wherever they're trying to have a holiday. Having a group supported system like this one has reduced that situation, the risk of that situation. There's also, well, as I say there, risk reduction in joint support, in backups, and in cloud storage. Some of you will have heard these horror stories from early this year about U3As that had a very nice system, ran on a computer in their office, the U3A office. Their landlord came and locked up the office and they lost all access to their system. So a cloud storage system is much safer that way. As again, many of us know, there's huge savings in volunteer hours at enrollment time in using a system like this. We set out looking for a system that had commercial support, and Kevin has alluded to that. And also, we've been able to incorporate the idea of an administrative system into the new U3A package, that when a group approaches us and wants to form a U3A, we can help them with all of these benefits. Now, that's actually the end of the slideshow. That's the end of what I wanted to talk about. Happy to take questions perhaps later on, and we'll keep on going for right now. I'm going to stop the share. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Susan. And I will move on and take the next session from here, and this one, and okay. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the version 6 that was released mid-August, and what features, major features anyway, that we've got, and a few bug fixes. I won't cover every one, but some of them are, and some of them will be obvious as you come across them. More and more now, we are reliant on the individual dates being set in UMass for each individual course. So as distinct from the course start date and finish date, you can set up individual dates on which that course will run. If it's weekly, it'll be every week. If it's monthly, every month, etc. We've had some issues where some U3As had set up their course dates, and then they went and changed the course itself to another day of the week, and the dates didn't follow. So we've tried in this report to try to get a nice summary of exactly what might be useful for you, rather than having to go and open up every course and have a look at it individually. So there's a nice little summary here. So, for example, the first one here, this first course, how to make paper planes for beginners, the course was set up to start on the 3rd of February. Now, the first date that is set up in the dates list is the 24th of February. Now, that may well be the normal situation. You may well have designed it that way. However, it's flagged it so that if you didn't mean that to be the case, then you're aware. I've got to move people out of the way here. Whoops, I'm going to move you down there. I've got all you people in the middle of my screen. And so hence, you can look then to see, did I design it this way? Is it correct? And if not, then you can go and fix it. It's not going to do it for you. It's just giving you a report. So in this particular case, it says there's 41 dates set up for this course. Does that look correct? From, say, the February to November, 41 weeks, is that about right? And you could compare it to another course very similar. So you could come down here and say, oh, these two here, they're running about the same length of time, and there's 43 weeks there. I've cut 2 weeks off here, so 41's about right. So it's probably okay. Another situation that occurs is that the course is set up, but you forget to insert the actual individual dates for that particular course. So in this particular one here, what is going on? There's it has a start date of the 4th of the 8th, but there's been no individual course dates set up, so it tells you there's none. So looking through this list here, you get a really nice summary of your course dates. It's more important now because course dates are used in UMass for Members. To display the course in UMass for Members needs the course dates. It also will tell the person who's looking at the course when the next day this course runs is. So it needs those dates to be set up. There's nothing to stop you from going in and cancelling a date or changing a date, but this is just a good indication of whether those have been set up correctly. In addition to that, there's a couple of additional benefits here. You can actually tell here very quickly how many courses do you have in the closed state or the admin state. So you can quickly look down there and you can see, if there's nothing in there, then it's not in that state. If it's got a Y, yes, that one's closed. Art for Fun is closed, and it's also an admin course, as an example. So these dates used to be only used in attendance lists. Now they're used in UMass for members, absence reporting, and the timetable on the website template. So it's very important to get them right. Download Courses CSV for quite some time now. We've made a few tweaks to this particular report, and in the latest report, the latest tweak is that we've added in the emails for tutors 1 and 2, or the first tutor and the second tutor. The main reason for raising this is that a number of you are using a course summary macro, Excel macro, and if you are, then you'll need a new version. You'll need to get back to me, and I can send it to you. If you are using another macro that you've created, then the course columns have changed in the CSV, and it may well affect your report. But this is the course summary, like a sample of the course summary report. If you're using that, then you'll need a new version from me. At rollover time, it's been tricky after the rollover to identify who was active in the previous year, or the current year, I suppose, at rollover time, and who has not re-enrolled or has become active in the next period. Our report here will allow you to check for any member range, but normally I would normally leave it from go to woe, and have a subs expiry date between 2 dates, which will allow you to actually set up a subs expiry date, for example, 1st of January this year to the 31st of December this year. If this is a subs expiry date and they are, in this particular case by default, they are inactive, then it means that they were active. They are no longer active. What do you want to do? Do you want to send them an email? Using that same query, you could then use the same query to then send an email to those members. I'm strongly suggesting that you do that check before you send those emails, because then you'll identify in that list, quickly going through it to see, is there anybody that you wouldn't want to send it to for various reasons? For example, if you did not catch up with a deceased member throughout that year, then you wouldn't want to be. And I would go back into UMass, fix up that email address for that member before you actually sent that off. That was just a bit of a check, but this is going to be a very useful feature, long asked for, I believe. Also at enrolment time and into the early stages of running the next year's courses, it would be useful to identify any member that has maybe paid their subscription fee, maybe enrolled in a course, maybe been deleted from that course because either the course is not running or for some other reason, or maybe they are on a wait list only. This particular course, this particular report will allow you to find any member past a certain subs expiry date or after a certain join date, and with a wait list on or off, you can determine whether people are enrolled in only no courses, or 1 or 2 or 3, if you really wanted to go through that exercise. But importantly, you can actually filter it by active or inactive members. So I think this would be useful at that particular time of the year. Now, a few of us have been caught in the past with a tutor name, in particular the preferred name for a tutor being changed or updated. Some may not have had a preferred name. Go and put in an updated preferred name for that particular tutor, and it hasn't always flowed right through all of the areas where we need to report a tutor name. For example, it didn't go into the tutor table correctly, or it didn't go into the course detail, and some reports didn't have it. So we've fixed that. And after release of 6.0, we found a bug. So we fixed the bug. However, in the next few days, we're going to actually send a note out to tell you how to actually upgrade to the next version, which will include that bug fix. So that's nice to have that out of the way. It was a little bit difficult to pick up, and so hence sometimes you could go for a long time not knowing that the tutor name wasn't set in the course detail correctly. I think we've fixed this for good. A few other bits and pieces here now. Access level 1 could not delete a parent code. That may or may not have been noticed. In the send emails for members, when you say, yes, I want to send, then a pop-up a note will come up to say in red, pop-ups must be enabled. Now, how many of us read messages? So it's hopefully we can sort of say, well, some people will pick it up, and that might be useful. During the year, we found that there were some people that decided that they would close all their courses, and there's a function where you can close all courses. Unbeknown to them at the time was that it also closed the subscription, because subscription works on a course fundamentals basis of a course. So in now the subscriptions, if your courses are all closed and if the subscription is closed, then the dates range in the subscription are shown in red, just so that you don't have to open it up to see whether it's closed. It's identifiable for you. Another one that's really probably not going to, you're probably not going to notice it, but every now and then someone sets up a rogue course date, something like 1970 or 2222. Typo, we set up this really rogue course date, enter it. It tells us that, hey, you're outside of range, and ignore notes, and you've got a course then that can't find. So a little bit of an enhancement has been made into this particular setting in the rollover area, where if you do that particular function of viewing member numbers, then it will come up in red any courses that are outside that range. And I would expect that not too many people have it, but it's the sort of thing that drives us crazy, trying to find that particular course when you've entered it, and now where do we find it? Because it's way outside any administration range that you could probably conceive. Last year, we announced that you could set up a button for the fifth week in a month in the course dates. And that was really useful because there are a lot of courses that people run, US3As run, that are monthly. So this was very useful. We tested it, it was all fine. However, if your course started after mid-year and you tried to add to the fifth week, it didn't work. So we fixed that. Another issue that that was probably not that was identified during the last course enrolments was that if you had a limit on the maximum parent codes that a member could enrol in during your enrolment period, under some circumstances it was ignored, and so hence that's now been worked on and fixed. Right from the very, very beginning of UMass, if there needed to be a year of birth change, and obviously these things don't change very often, but sometimes there's a mistake, there's a typo, then it didn't actually record it in the audit trail or the history. And so now that's been fixed up as well. And one that I think people will be really excited about, I hope, is that the print or course enrollments. And at this time last year, we said it won't work in Chrome. And then later this, it would work, but it would work in Firefox. Then midway through the year, Firefox did an upgrade of their browser and it didn't work in Firefox. So then we had to go back to the drawing board, and Peter spent a bit of time and worked out that, hey, he could fix it. And so hence now not only do the course enrollments print in whatever browser you come up with, and we've tested it in Chrome, Opera, Edge, the new Edge, Firefox, Vivaldi, and Opera. Yeah, all those. So it's been tested, worked well, and then it's much faster. So it's good. So it's the right time of the year for this because we're starting to talk about enrolments for next year. And that's it from me. Thank you very much. And I will stop sharing. And I'm going to hand over to Andrew for his session on UMass for members.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit this morning about the setup of UMass for members. The current status is that 25 of the U3As using UMass have upgraded to UMass for members, and there's about another 15 to go. The first U3As were upgraded in the last fortnight of August, and we've been gradually doing them since then. And a team of Jasmine Higgs, Kevin Whelan, Peter Lazarus, and Jeff Kidd has been established to undertake the setup for U3As moving to UMass for members. It does require release 6.0 to be in place, and it requires downloading the required software, putting the settings in place, setting up PayPal, because PayPal now has got to be on the application program interface, which interfaces between UMass for members software and core UMass. It also requires some work on the website to give access to the new UMass for members. One of the key issues is that you've got to have quite an amount of credential information in order to be able to do all of that. And I strongly recommend to every U3A that one person in the U3A has all these credential informations in one place. They are critical and they're really very important. And one of the challenges that we found is that often this information is scattered between various committee members, but ideally it should be collected together and put in one place. The other issue is that if on your host you're using two-factor authentication, then the telephone numbers of the primary and secondary person should be incorporated into that two-factor authentication so that more than one person can access the host. The setup in core UMass to set it for UMass for members is you go to settings and options, and right at the bottom you will see this settings table for UMass for members. And if you click on list settings, you will see this picture. Now I've blanked out I took this from Nunawading, and I blanked out the PayPal client IDs and secrets because I didn't really want to distribute that. But the first three in the settings allow you to indicate what payment options you're going to make. So at Nunawading, at the moment it's only set for PayPal, so if you wanted to set some of these others like cash at the office, you would have to edit it and make it yes instead of no. I have to say that in a COVID-19 environment, the issue of payment at the office does raise some rather tricky issues and needs to be carefully thought through. One of the settings here is allow new members to join. So in core UMass, if you had the system online available to members, it was not possible to stop new members joining. With UMass for members, you can edit that so that you can block new members joining. Now, again, in the environment that we're in, where it's quite likely in 2021 that we will be able to run face-to-face classes, but on a restricted basis. In other words, that the capacity that you've got will be far lower than what you had originally in normal times. You might wish to hold off allowing new members to join in the enrollment week and leave it till either later on or earlier in the new year. You've got the option here to turn it off. You'll notice here that the course end date is set at 31/12/2100. There's an important point here. If you don't want members to see 2021 courses while you're entering them, you need to reset that date to 31/12/2020. Otherwise, unless the courses are marked admin only, they will be visible to members. There is the next issue is the sort list by which you decide how things will be displayed. So at Nunawading, we have a series of categories like art, languages, etc. And the category heading appears first, and then the second heading is the course code. Now, if you look at this, and you can actually set, if you click on the edit, how you want to do it. So if you look at the default course list sort first, and you click on the drop down menu, you will see category, frequency, course type, day of week, new course or tutor. So if your preference is to show courses by day of the week, and I know a number of people like that presentation, then you'll choose that as your primary sort. There's one other point that I will make here, and that is course type. Course type at the moment is set so that you can see the courses are divided into long, short, and 1 day. But you can add new course types. So for example, if you were to add Zoom as a course type, and you could do so. If you add Zoom as a course type, you could mark the courses that are Zoom with that type. If you're in a situation where you could only run Zoom courses, what you could then do is change the primary sort to type, and that would display the Zoom courses. But there is one tricky situation here. Because they are listed alphabetically, the Zoom would appear last. So you need either to put a 1 in front of Zoom or an A in front of Zoom to make it list first. If it lists first, that means that if you had to revert to Zoom only, those Zoom type courses would appear first for the members to see. There is a second level of sort order. So as I showed you before at Nunawading, our primary sort order is category, and our second is course code. But there are other ways of doing it. And the other thing is that a member themselves in the course filter, when they're using UMass for Members, can put in their own sort. So they can put in, if they want to see what's on a particular days, they can put in day as a sort code. So that explains the category and the primary and secondary sorts. You have to set up, as I've said, a PayPal client on the API. Those of you who are getting it set up will have help with that. And what it means is that members going through UMass for Members will be using the PayPal client. But if an administrator goes into Core UMass and wants to enroll a member in Core UMass, perhaps because they're assisting that member, then the PayPal function in Core UMass would apply in that case. One of the key issues is that in the modules section, there is a tick box where you can say UMass for Members is active. And this allows members only to use the new version of the membership system. So one of the issues is that many members will have stored the Core UMass URL as a favorite or a bookmark. And if they click on that, it will send them initially to Core UMass. but immediately they try to log in, or immediately they try and find a course before logging on, they will be redirected to UMass for Members. One of the important issues there is that when the website is being set up to support UMass for Members, you need, in addition to the normal member access, to set up an admin access so that admin people can get access to core UMass, because all the admin functions remain within core UMass. The functions that UMass for Members supports are purely the member functions. So all the admin functions, like establishing new courses, have got to be done from core UMass. So we recommend putting in place a separate button for admin access, which links to core UMass. That admin access will only provide access to those who have an admin category 1 to 5. If an ordinary member clicks this link and tries to log on, they'll be redirected to UMass for Members. One of the issues that was the trickiest in doing this project was to test usability. We did test usability with a lot of members. We also tested with non-members, what I describe as clean skins. Generally, what you find is that when you test with clean skins who are digitally literate, they're really quite happy with what we've done. But inevitably, when you test with people who are used to the old system, they raise a lot of questions, which essentially relate to the differences between operating with the old system and the new system. What you normally try and do when you're testing usability is run focus groups and try and nail the things that create most irritation for members. And although we have done quite a lot of testing, it is not quite the same as what we would have done had we not had the COVID-19 restrictions. We are planning to run a session on Friday, October 9th at 10:30, where we will invite anyone to come forward with usability issues. I should add that I have already received from a number of U3As comments on usability issues. So I have a log of all the usability issues that have been tabled so far. What we will almost certainly do is we will tune the system. It is likely that tuning in terms of implementation will be done early in the new year rather than before Christmas, because we don't want to be messing around too much before the enrollment period. But there will be opportunity to do some tweaking. One of the most common ones that I get is the replacement of the color coding with icons. And the color coding was not particularly satisfactory, in part because of contrast problems on tablets and smartphones. A number of people have said, well, why can't the icons be displayed at the top of the page? And the answer is, well, that works fine on a PC or a laptop. But if you're trying to do it on a smartphone, it takes up a lot of space. So there are issues that we've got to resolve around that. Some people believe that the icons should be replaced by words, but it's again, it's a question of space and clarity. Some people feel that the up and down arrows should be replaced by previous and next. We'll have time to assess these and many others over the next month or so, and we will draw up a list of what you might call priority fixes for implementation early in the new year. One of the issues that I just raised is old equipment. It's not unusual for members to be given cast-off smartphones and tablets by their children. We've tested with equipment, and I'm talking about tablets and smartphones here, and that's both iPhone and Samsung. We've gone back 6 years, and people have told me that older equipment will work, but the critical issue is that they have to be regularly updated. And the problem with a lot of members given cast-off equipment is that they do not update. It's not just a problem, by the way, with tablets and smartphones. You also find it on PCs and laptops. I had a course coordinator from a U3A ring me up during the winter, saying she was having trouble. I spent a couple of hours trying to figure out what was happening, and then I asked her the key question: what are you using? How old is it? And when was it last updated? It was a 10-year-old Mac which had not been updated for 3 years. Abandon all hope in those situations. So that's really my presentation. I'll look at the chat sessions, but we have, as I say, a session coming up on October 9th where we can drill down more on usability. So thank you. I'll stop the share.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. And just a couple of minutes early. So what about we start the break now and come back, say, 11:30 and continue on. So anybody who wants to stretch their legs, get a cup of coffee, whatever else you need to do. And look, if anybody wants to have a chat amongst themselves, well, amongst friends, 88 of you, then you're welcome to do that as well. But I, for one, am going to get a coffee. I'll be back in a second. I'll pause the recording as while we're going as well.
Whether you display both years' courses is a matter of choice, but it's usually a good idea to go for either one or the other to avoid confusion. We now come to the actual database rollover, which will be done several days before, or a weekend or several days before you start running enrolments. You need to turn the system to offline, run off a series of reports for reference, and I've listed them there. They're either for reference because you might need to refer to them for historical records, or they might provide details you'll need for the next few steps, for instance, members with particular security levels. Tidy up any anomalous tutor types and run the rollover. It's usually just a matter of clicking a couple of buttons, and after you've done that, you need to check that the members are now non-active, not active, apart from the ones who are honorary members or something. You need to reset your tutors and then update them. The tutors, of course, you may have various member types which are tutors. For instance, you might have associate tutors, honorary tutors, member tutors, and so forth. And you'll need to run the tutor update a corresponding number of times. If you run early enrolment, there's some preparation for that. You need to reset the early enrolments and update them. That's if you do them by member type, for instance, tutors. Or if you're using the volunteer module, you need to run the recalculate and allocate systems. If you run early enrolment days, you probably know more about this than I do. You might be running either method or both, although I don't know of any groups which use the volunteer module. It's also possible to manually set the flag for individual members by editing their member records, and there's a field for this at the bottom of the edit member details screen in Core UMass. You need to set up a new subscription code, and you need to check that it's working. Enrollment calendar days in a year might need adjusting. Don't leave it till the last minute to check that the new subscription is the one being used and that it's the only one being used. It appears at the top of the course list if you're logged on as any member who is not active in Core UMass. So to check without actually running through the procedure, if you go to Core UMass, log in as a member who's not active, and it'll show the subscription above the course list. You need to set the initial enrolment limit. So if you're only allowing members to enroll in 4 courses until a later time, you can set that now. And then you set the system to inactive until enrolment time. Right, on early enrolment day, you'll be switching the database from inactive to offline. Set the settings so that enrolments are now allowed. And check that ordinary members can't enrol, so you might need to log on as one of those and make sure that they're not able to enrol at this time. And that those enrolments, those who are authorised can enrol, including in UMass for members. Check that only the 2021 courses are visible and adjust the dates if necessary. And that includes setting the APO date range in UMass for members, which you'll see at the bottom of the system settings options menu. Run a test enrolment, either your own and or a test member, and include the membership subscription payment. And again, probably via both the Core UMass and UMass for members. Okay, we're up to the first enrolment day, and it's assumed that some groups will run an extended enrolment period. That's why I'm saying first enrolment day rather than just enrolment day. Obviously, there could be a horrendous number of emails being generated during this time, most of which are probably not necessary or appreciated. So you can turn off the email notification for the duration of the enrolment period. Check that you're still allowing enrolments. And at the nominated time, the advertised time, you need to set the system to active and then stand by to field any queries or problems, and there almost always are some. Okay, after the enrolment day, consider setting your system to offline so that the course coordinator can adjust courses. And most adjustments relate to those courses for which the time limit was set to 0, which will need to be populated with eligible applicants. You can then adjust the maximum number of courses to enrol in once you've established that everybody who is entitled to enrol in something has had a chance to do so. Re-enable any discontinued email traffic, as was mentioned on the previous slide, and run any reports of interest, particularly those relating to payments. It might be useful to run financial reports each day if you need to reconcile your cash receipts if you're running enrolment on site. And run a debrief of the rollover for future reference and improvements, and file it somewhere where you'll be able to find it next year. For more help, okay, at the end of the, there will be an end of the year rollover routines worksheet via Zoom on the 16th of October for those who want more detail, and you probably will, almost certainly will, if you haven't done it before. In the administrator's user manual under Appendix S and T, you'll find some examples of procedures that other groups have gone through. Some groups have developed their own guides, and by all means feel free to continue using those with the appropriate adjustments for UMass for members. Dandenong has developed a draft end of year rollover manual, and others may have done so too. And some of it, I think we're intending to release that so that you can have a look at that as well. And of course, contact your support person. I've probably used my allotted time, so hopefully there aren't too many questions, but that's the end of my presentation. So I'll stop sharing.
Okay, thanks, Robin. And yeah, that workshop I'll reiterate that date at the end as well. Also, this is a good opportunity to thank Jeanette at Dandenong, because a lot of you will have seen my scribbled notes, almost scribbled notes that have been updated every year with some other information in it for the rollover, and I've shared it with a number of people. Jeanette has gone and cleaned it up into a nicely formatted document, and so I've actually taken it for Whittlesea's purposes, put our dates in there so we can actually send out that as well as a guide for rollover as well. So thank you. I like it when someone does that for us. So now I'll hand over to Andrew, who's going to actually talk to us about how do we manage next year, enrolments for next year. Andrew.
Thank you. We're living in a COVID-19 world, and it presents some challenges. We have a roadmap for exiting lockdown in Victoria, but there are some quite high hurdles to reach normal. We've also got the challenge that our age group and membership covers those who are most vulnerable if they contract COVID-19, so we have to be cautious. And there's a likelihood that until we get a vaccine, some level of restriction will impact U3A operation. So it creates a rather uncertain environment. We are aware from feedback we've received that many U3As are considering what they do going forward in this environment. One of the most common requests is that those who paid a full membership fee for 2020 classes and only participated in face-to-face classes held before the lockdown in March, there's a request that those 2020 active members get a discounted membership fee for 2021. And this can be done by converting 2020 members to a new member type with a lower fee associated with it. So, for example, I've shown you here that we've created a new member type called Member 2020. And so the proposal will be that we would convert members who are current members to Member 2020. The difficulty with that is that the current system basically would convert all members to Member 2020, and that includes inactive members as well as active members. So we have in test at the moment the capability to select just active members and convert them to Member 2020, and associated with Member 2020 could be a discounted membership fee. So that is in test at the moment. Another element that we've looked at relates to the subscription. Most U3As perform a rollover in November, December, whereby all active members are made inactive. As part of that process, as has just been described, a new subscription is created for 2021, and that has a date range from January to the end of December 2021. 2021 classes are entered, and as a result of members enrolling in 2021 classes, the subs 2021 is generated in My Invoice in UMass for members. One of the issues is whether we could extend the subscription for 2020 into 2021. Now, in part, this comes out of the lockdown or the roadmap that Daniel Andrews put forward. You may recall that the next step we get to is now October 19th, which is an average of less than 5 cases a day. But the hurdle set for November 23rd is really quite stiff. It's no cases for 14 days. And that is right on the boundary of when enrollments normally take place. If we achieve that no infections for 14 days, we'd have a lot more freedom in how we could operate and in terms of how our offices could open and so on. So some U3As have said, well, maybe we should have the option of extending subscriptions from 2020 into 2021. The extreme example would be to extend it for a full year, but you could also choose to extend it, say, towards the end of January, so that you did enrollments at the end of January, hoping that by that time we had achieved 14 days without infections, or better still, 28 days. So at the moment, you can extend a subscription for an individual member manually, but you can't do a global extension of the subscription. So what we're actually working on, we've been working on, is a capability where the subscription can be extended. And what you could do if you wanted was you could extend the subscription, and you could extend class dates if you wanted, and keep the existing classes running into next year. You would have to reset the dates, but you would not do a rollover. Essentially, you're running the 2020 situation into 2021. There is another option whereby you can create 2021 courses, and members can enroll in those courses as normal, but if their subscription has been extended to cover 2021, they would not need to pay another subscription fee. So for a new member, they will pay a subscription fee, which would actually be the extended 2020 subscription fee. I personally would have difficulty recommending extending subscription for an entire year, because you're going to lose out on your revenue for that year in a big way. But it may be that extending it for a short period into 2021 might make some sense, depending on how we progress in terms of meeting the hurdles that have been set by the government in terms of moving out of the lockdown. One of the issues is with the reset is to create a capability to do that. And here we show what we've got in test at the moment, which would allow us to reset the member expiry date. And as I say, that is in test at the moment, and that and the other one that I mentioned, which is the ability to select only active members to convert to a new member type, are likely to be available in early October. As I've said, the primary downside with extending subscriptions is the loss of revenue in the 2021 year, but it does provide a measure of flexibility. I think the challenge that we have in 2021 is the sheer degree of uncertainty. We will probably continue running Zoom-only courses, because there will undoubtedly be members who, because of health problems, are reluctant to attend face-to-face. We'd probably be going to running face-to-face classes with some level of restriction. I mean, it's not beyond the possibility that we either have no infections for such a long period that there's a relaxation, or that we get a vaccine which allows a relaxation, and then we can move to normal operation. But in reality, we have to plan for really all of those three, or mixes of those three. And there's varying views on the probability of each of those three scenarios. So I think if you're looking at putting in courses for 2021, as we are today, you'd probably put a mix of Zoom-only courses plus restricted face-to-face courses for term one. By restricted, I mean that there will be social distancing, and inevitably social distancing tends to mean that the number of people you can accommodate in a room is far less than you would normally accommodate. So it's a challenging time for all of us, and it requires a measure of flexibility. Some of the developments that we are working on provide some additional options to manage that uncertainty, but it really is a bit of a step-by-step process, and it depends very much on how we progress in getting the infection rate down and possibly close to elimination. So that's the end of my presentation. I'll stop the share and hand back to Kevin.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. And over the last, there's been a few months now, we've actually had queries from U3As saying that our AGM or our committee has approved a particular function. How can UMass support it? So that's where these things have been coming from. And so hence those couple of tweaks to reports, we think will offer quite a bit of flexibility. Going to hand over now to Jeff to look at the website template.
Okay, hi all folks, everybody. Another short presentation. They're coming thick and fast. So this is quite a short one. Now, anyone hear me? Kevin, can you hear me? Thank you. Okay, not too much to report on the template. We've had a few small movements, but it's still a very simple way of getting a website up. It's a no frills website, or if you want to use it in a complex mode, you can use it with or without UMass. It doesn't cost anything. It's supported by Central U3A network, and it's designed to cater for everybody, whatever level of skill you want to use. It enables business continuity when your webmaster changes or your committee changes. Also, because we're online for absolutely everything now, a website is becoming even more and more important. We're doing online shopping. We've got Zoom course presentations. We need current hardware and software, which is very important. Now, that's been outlined a little bit in previous presentations. Andrew's mentioned that. Update our browsers, update our operating systems. Make sure our websites are using HTTPS rather than HTTP for better security. And probably the biggest bugbear of all is the use of strong passwords. It's easy just to log in with admin and password, but we're really entering a world of needing stronger passwords, 8 or more characters, mix of upper and lowercase letters, and numerals and perhaps percents, hash symbols. Some places do actually enforce that. We've had our UMass for Members released recently. This eventually will roll out for all UMass users. And we're doing well with 25 of the 40 or so groups, not too many to go. Those that are interested in having it and haven't responded, let Kevin know, and we'll schedule you a website update. WordPress 5.5 came and went, left the template with a couple of minor issues, which Jasmine fixed, and released the UMass for Members update version 4.010. So when we do the install of UMass for members, we actually update your template to version 4.10 as well. For those people not using the template, once again, the UMass for members install works very well with yours. You just need to use your ability to create links, hard code your links to the new service. And as you're operating your own websites, there will be people who know how to do that, and we can provide some help if there's not. For the WordPress template people, there's two forms of interfacing to UMass for members. One is the embedded version and one is the non-embedded version. The embedded version actually looks very good, as you can see in the graphic there. The UMass for members appears actually as part of your website. It stays intrinsically in your website. It doesn't open externally in a new tab or anything like that. It just runs within your website, and the links to UMass for members are behind those icon buttons. You need to set up an API code for UMass for members to run the embedded version, and at install time, we can advise you on how to do that. The non-embedded version can run with either the template or with your own website if you don't use the template. It opens generally on a separate browser tab, and in general, you've got a separate login button which can be hard-coded with the link to UMass for members. On Croydon's site, we've got our little login button, which is a drop-down menu and enables you to log into UMass for members as an existing member or as new member joining or admin tutor login. And as been mentioned previously, if you are a tutor or administration person or volunteer with higher than level 0 access to UMass, if you want access to reports, class lists, who's in your class, you need to log in as an administration or a tutor person. If you are a tutor and you want to log in just as yourself to enroll in a course, well, that's fine too. You can log in using the existing member login, and but of course that doesn't give you access to reports. So if you want access to the administration function for your classes, you log in through the admin tutor login. And once again, the install person, Kevin, Peter, or myself will be there to help you in those choices and to set up the correct names. For the template people, your courses and memberships and the sidebar, Jasmine's programmed a number of things with shortcodes into the sidebar and also into the member pages and the course pages. When you choose the embedded method, all those links are changed internally in the software. If you choose the non-embedded method, once again, all those links are changed internally. It's automatic. You don't have to worry about it. You just have to choose whether you want the embedded version or the non-embedded version, and that's an easy change. There's a settings in your WordPress template backend, which it's just a very simple setting to change, and it's very easy. Some people will like the embedded version because you never leave your website. Other people perhaps would prefer the non-embedded version, and that seems to be, more people seem to be going to the non-embedded version, but the embedded version is quite good. We have training every 2 months. We use Zoom again to present various topics that people might be interested. Last month's topic really was the block editor and a couple of short code hints. But for future, there's general discussion and suggestions for future workshops. We would love suggestions from users, and UMass for members, probably a little bit of integration information. There may be some interest there too. Our next session is Friday, the 30th of October. Kevin has an invitation list that he sends out every 2 months. But if you feel you're not on that list and you'd like to join us, you use the template and you'd like to play around with a few things with a group of other people, let us know, and we can add you to the list. It's yeah, every second month on a Friday, and we're there for about an hour and a half or so. A few people straggle on afterwards, and we have a bit of a chat. So it's quite good fun. Template and UMass for members. The template people can contact myself or Peter Lazarus. That's our email addresses there. If you have a problem or you have any feedback that you want to give us, send us an email, and that starts the process. Website for all members probably is the way forward. We all, in the 21st century, we do need to have a website, small groups or large groups, or running UMass or not running UMass. Website, particularly in this COVID area, is very important. So get in touch and we'll just do the rest. So thanks, Kevin. Back to you.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. And I think I saw Colleen in the audience a while ago. I meant to ring Colleen a while ago and sort of say, do you mind if we use your website as a screenshot, because the embedded version and things just got carried away, so I forgot. So Colleen, your website has the embedded version and the non-embedded version. Anybody wants to go and have a look at either of those can go to Creswick and have a look at. And I think you're running Croquet is the only course you're running next year.
Yeah.
Sorry, this term at the moment. So, but apart from that, you can see the methodology that they're using up there. So let's hand over now to Chris to look at data privacy and security. Hand over to you, Chris.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully you can see my screen, the presentation. Yep. So, Chris Shalamis, I'm from Network. I'm the technical project manager who was employed recently, and my job is to look after everything technical within Network and to help the U3As where possible. At the moment, we're running the project, the data privacy and security, which you may have heard about. We've run a few check-in sessions. We've run some workshops. We've sent out lots of emails. You're probably sort of fed up with it at the moment, but that's one of the major things we're looking at. So the status of that project, if it clicks forward. So we are looking at all our policies. We throughout, including our, security policies, privacy, all the rest of it. We've been working and looking at the state government and also federal government have got a number of resources that we're looking at. We're working with DHHS, Department of Health and Human Services, and we're beholden to them to provide some reporting from Network perspectives, not the U3As directly, about our security compliance. So we're just trickling this down to the U3As. So one of the things we've asked everyone to do is to fill out a privacy impact assessment form, which helps focus on your security environment. That was provided by OVIC, the Office of Victorian Assessment. We've got a few responses back from Whittlesea and a few others on filling out that form, and we've loaded that up into our shared sites in Teams, and I'll explain that in a minute for people to have a look at of how to fill those out if they wish to. The one from Whittlesea was quite good because it covers the usage of UMass and website template. The other things that have happened recently, we've moved some of the hosted network sites, the UMass sites that Kevin and his team help us on SiteGround. They've been moved to Sydney data centres from offshore. We've been running a series of workshops that like I said, I mentioned before, and we've got a check-in session this afternoon at 2 p.m. And as I repeated before, we are beholden to DHHS, and we're working on the project called Victorian Protective Data Security Standards Program. So the policies, so we're working on a raft of policies, so I won't read into them in detail, but they cover, bring your own device, security statements, our own privacy officer. We've got all those working. So we've also got those on our team site for review and sharing if you wish. So that they're specifically for us. So we're not so much templates, but they can be used as a basis if you need to do something similar. What do we want the U3As to do? Basically, we really all have to be in the same boat regarding security, because as you're well aware, it's affecting us all at a personal level, at an organisational level. It's all been in the papers. So this is really a sort of consciousness raising effort, the whole thing. So the project doesn't stop, and it's something that's ongoing. So we've got to make sure your committee's committed. It's got to be part of your process. Whatever you're doing, the next thing you do, whatever web page you put in, whatever door locks you put in, whatever site you go to, pages you fill out, you've got to be aware of the implications of security and who can see it, who can get access to it, what they can do. We recommend you fill out your PIA, your Privacy Impact Assessment form. That was which we've shared previously, I just mentioned. And even though it seems a bit onerous, it actually isn't that bad. Once you've filled it out, it does give you a perspective of where your gaps are and what you've got and what you need to secure. And so we keep recommending that you fill that out when you can. And we've got some UMass security workshops coming up. Well, sorry, as well, on top of our own check-in sessions and workshops, we have a specific UMass workshop coming up soon. The other thing we need is to look at your security risks, have a look around, do analysis, and based on your security risks, you need to then look at an action plan. So most of this will be 80-20 stuff. So the simple things and the basic things like being careful of attachments in emails and just making sure you don't download things you don't need to and don't store information that's not required. So all that simple stuff, we don't have to go into the detail of very high-tech stuff initially. So look, see where your security is, see where your gaps are, and see where you can fix them. Just as a note for people, in terms of network ourselves, so in terms of the UMass systems, we don't have access to your member data. We don't have access to the configuration of your website directly. So I know that Kevin and the team and Peter and all the rest of the guys and Jeff, they look after these systems, but they look at it from a systemic point of view. We don't actually maintain directly membership data, so we don't have access to it. As I mentioned before, the data privacy and security is an ongoing process, and it's something we have to be front of mind. We also have to see that it's also at a personal level and also an organisational level. So one of the future check-in sessions we'll be doing is to discuss how it affects us personally and how we can mitigate any security implications. The other point that comes across is some of the highest risks is people. It's basically people's behaviour, it's not the technology. So, and volunteers have to be well aware of what they need to do. What data they can access, what data they share, and how they share it. We have as I mentioned before, the UMass Data Privacy Workshop on October the 21st. So hope you can attend that. And if you have any issues with or concerns or just general conversation about security, please contact myself and that email. And I think that's about it, really. That's all for now. I'll hand it
Thanks.
back to you, Kevin.
Okay, thanks, Chris. This is unbelievable that we finished early. I really put the screws on everybody to make sure that they were really tight in their presentations, and because we've never finished early in the past, we've always run over. There's always been some, presentation that sort of is a bit longer than we thought. And so hey, it's worked. So we can finish a bit earlier.
You're
However,
a bully, Kevin.
So let me just come back into here. Come on, get rid of that and come back with this. And okay, so look, we've had quite a few chats throughout the whole session. A lot of them I noticed we've been either able to answer them, hopefully satisfactorily. What I propose to do is that, and if not, then we will have another look at them behind the scenes. We will pull those together into a document that we'll put in a support team response. And it may well be the same response that's on the chat at the moment, but we'll collate that so that then you can have it as a look up and as a guide. I think they're coming in thick and fast at the moment, so I can't read them while I'm doing this. I can only do one thing at a time. Now, so at the end of the session now, we're going to stop recording. Now, there's two sessions, and I probably should have added the third one in there. Friday the 9th of October, UMass for Members. We're going to look at UMass for Members, usability issues, and add in there some admin features and functions that you need to do in the core UMass that will impact or affect the way UMass for Members works or is displayed or functions. And so we'll focus on that on Friday the 9th of October. The following week on the 16th of October, the end of year and rollover routines, anybody's happy to come along, but we'll particularly be interested in having those that have not done it before. And both of those sessions we will record again, so we can actually make them available. I'm proposing that we can continue on now for a little bit longer for anybody who wants to have a bit of a chat or ask any particular questions. But at the end of the session now, we'll, as I said, we'll stop recording. I will send the recording link, the presentations, accompanying documents, the chat presentations or the answer responses out in the next few days, or hopefully, and then send them to you by email. So I'd like to thank everybody who has participated today and has taken on board the need to keep our presentation sharp and allow us to finish that little bit early. So that's really neat. Thank you very much. And I note that at the moment, the indications are that the next user group would be on the 13th of April, 2021. So what happens in between now and then in terms of our lockdown or our open up, whatever might happen, Christmas, new enrollments, new year, it's all challenging and we're all doing it a bit differently. So let me just stop this here now. And so hence, if anybody wants to continue on, then happy to do that. But for those who want to head off now, thank you very much for attending, and please keep healthy.
Kevin, it's Joy Green here from Bensdale.
G'day, Joy.
Just listening to about all the enrolments and dates and everything, it's going to be quite different between regional and metro, I should imagine. So there's probably going to be a whole lot of different things happening within the region.
Yes, quite possibly. But hopefully what we've got as options for extending enrolments, globally changing member types, will be flexible enough to allow whatever changes you need to make. And will suit any of those changes. So, Joy, did you see anything in there that would not work for you?
No, I'm just seeing that, hoping that we can move forward, quite quickly, and hoping that, because this will be our first time on UMass, hoping that we can start setting that up in October, November.
Yeah, well, you can start setting up your courses any time. You change your administration date out in Core UMass so that you can see the courses for next year. You can limit the courses that members can see up until maybe the end of this year. That gives you the opportunity to build those courses, modify those courses, or start to build them and not complete them until you get further information, say from the tutor or the venue, or however you're going to run it. You can do all that in advance.
We're certainly working towards that, Kevin. Yeah, we're certainly working towards that.
You can start right now.
Yeah.
There's no limit. There's no restriction on when you do it.
Yeah.
You can copy courses that you're very aware of are going to run next year. Copy that course across, give it a new date range. And if that's an existing Zoom course, for example, that's going to run next year as Zoom, then that's an easy one. Where it becomes more difficult is, are we going to be able to have face-to-face get-togethers? And as you say, in the regions, you might have more flexibility than we do in the metro area.
Thank you.
I just want to say hello to John Parker. Haven't seen John for a couple of years. It's really great to see you, John.
Unmute.
Yes, great. Thank you, Susan, and great to see you as well. I saw Elsie earlier as well. I don't know whether she's still about. So,
Yes, probably.
Robin and Jeff and many others that I've met.
Still a few of our old soldiers here.
No, we're still going, aren't we? Well done.
It's been good to see John. It's been good to see John and his team in those other sessions that we've been running. So John's a frequent attender. If not in person, well, in face-to-face, he's doing it in his car.
Yes.
You don't need to be on the top of the hill to get a signal.
Hey, Kevin, I'm actually sitting.
Well, that's a very impressive background that you've got there, John.
Oh, well, we've got to promote UCA more to the world.
Yes, I'm thinking I need that for the governor's reception on Thursday. I don't know if we can get it made in time, though. Might have to go with his bookcase.
No, it's easy to do. It's a virtual background. Just take a photo off your network website.
I believe it takes up a lot of bandwidth, though. You sort of have to be careful about when you use it or where you use it. If you're using your personal telephone, you might be sorry, but if you're taken care of by your U3A, you should be okay.
Just out of interest, it's about Zoom takes about 1 gigabyte an hour of your bandwidth. So if you're running it on your phone plan and you get 1 gigabyte a month, well, you're in trouble. But so sometimes I believe if you turn your video off, the bandwidth is less. So yeah.
That's correct. When we record these sessions, the file size is around about 500 to 600 megabytes. So so we will load it onto, in this case, I'm proposing we load onto YouTube. And I don't know whether Graham Friedrich is in the group today, but Graham had made a suggestion about using YouTube with the and I can't remember the style, but it's not an open video, it's not a private video, but it allows any number of members, but it cannot be searched. But if you've got the link, then you can view it. So we're proposing that because we're running out of space to put all these videos. We're collecting so many of them, and so we're trying different things. And I have had some success the last time with putting it onto YouTube. My preference would be to put it into Vimeo, but Vimeo has a limit of 500 meg per week on a free account. So there's limitations on all of these systems, but YouTube just seems to, I haven't been able to find the limit yet. So I'll keep going until I can. Susan.
I have to say goodbye to everyone, but I just wanted to remind you all that we do have this virtual reception with the governor on Thursday at 11 o'clock. If anyone in your U3A would like to come, we got some extra places, so we do think there's lots of room. If you're not sure, contact the network office, but the invitations did go out to all U3As last week. It was another one of these brainstorms on the governor's part that they didn't give us much time to organize it. Be lots of fun. Bye-bye to everyone. Thank you very much. I'll look forward to seeing you at more meetings.
Bye, Susan. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye, Kevin.
Unless
Thanks.
there's any other questions, maybe. Any other questions for? Okay. Well, what about we say goodbye then, and we will certainly catch up at these other sessions along the way. Also, I'm interested if there's enough things that on a particular topic that we get queries on. I'm happy to set up another session that we just go through a dedicated session, maybe half an hour, 3/4 an hour on a particular function. We'll just do that, get it out of the way. It's easier than trying to send emails sometimes backwards and forwards. Just do it in front of people. And so hence happy to do that anytime. Okay, well, thank you all for attending, and look forward to seeing you at different sessions. Bye all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Kevin.
Bye-bye. And the rest of the presenters.